Did you know that a cop almost choked a 17-year-old? Now, unfortunately, there are many more insane situations like this. And hopefully with this video, we'll spread awareness and make the situation better, at least for a little. So let's begin. First up on our list, we have a heartbreaking story of a worried mother, Jacqueline Craig from Fort Worth, Texas. She made a distress call to the police after her neighbor choked her 7-year-old son for littering. To her surprise, instead of receiving proper assistance, she faced harassment from the police. In a video recording, a police officer can be seen questioning Jacqueline about why she hadn't taught her son not to litter. In response, she firmly asserted that regardless of the situation, the man had no right to lay his hands on her child. The grieving woman is trying hard to stay calm in this situation, but the cop is not having it. He asks the woman why she is yelling at him and then threatens her to not get him angry. Jacqueline's 15-year-old daughter, upon observing that this situation is escalating, decides to stand between her mother and the police officer. However, this has the opposite effect as the cop completely loses his temper, and at this point, he pushes the girl away, pulls out his taser, and tases Jacqueline, forcing her to the ground. He then proceeds to arrest the woman, her daughter, and the person who was filming for resisting arrest. Thankfully, the cop had to face consequences for his actions by the Fort Worth Police Department. He was placed on restricted duty at first, and eventually he was suspended, though only for 10 days. As for the brave mother, she sued the police department, which resulted in the city agreeing to pay her $150,000 pending council approval. Next up on our list, we have the police harassing none other than an army lieutenant. At the start of the video, we see the lieutenant recording himself as the police are yelling at him to get out of the car. He's trying to stay calm as he's talking to the police, asking them what's going on. The cops have their weapons drawn as they continue to yell at the man. The lieutenant even remarks that he is serving the country and this is how he's being treated. The police continue to yell with a gun aimed at the man. At one point, the cop pulls out a pepper spray and sprays it right onto the face of the lieutenant. It is completely unacceptable how they're treating him. Another notable moment is when one of the two cops is telling the guy to take off his seatbelt, whereas the second cop is telling him to not reach inside the car. Eventually, the guy is pulled out of the car and pushed onto the ground. All the while, he's trying to stay calm and keeps asking the cops what's going on. Let's see what the chief of police had to say. The cop that pepper sprayed the army lieutenant was fired, whereas the other cop is still in the force. The lieutenant was paid thousands of dollars for this mishandling by the police. The next clip on our list is of a 22-year-old guy named Dylan Puente, who was on his way to meet his grandmother in Keller, Texas, when he was pulled over by a police officer for making a wide right turn. The body cam footage of the officer shows the cop asking Dylan to step out of the car and immediately arresting him because he was acting suspicious. The sergeant later on claimed that he was worried about his safety, that's why he arrested him. A little while later, we see Dylan's father, Marco, pulling over. The cop threatened to arrest Marco if he didn't move his car out of the way. Marco complied and started to film his son's arrest. The officer didn't like that either and immediately ordered Marco's arrest. You can see in the video that the cops are being forceful and aggressive for no reason, as the cop is seen taking away Marco's phone and even pepper spraying the guy. Dylan paid his wide turn ticket and the sergeant was deranged from sergeant to officer. Next, we have a clip of a guy in a wheelchair being confronted by the police. On June 21, 2021, a convenience store manager made a call to the police reporting a man begging inside the store. Officer Matthew Cavender and his partner were dispatched to the scene. Upon arrival, they found 64-year-old Timothy Grant in a wheelchair. The officers checked his name and discovered that he had 5 active warrants for his arrest. As a result, they proceeded to take him into custody. There was struggle, mostly because the man was disabled, which might have seemed like resisting arrest, but he wasn't violent or anything. So when he was on the ground, one of the officers, Officer Cavender, tased him not once, not twice, but 4 times. Chief of the Police Department of St. Petersburg, Anthony Holloway, said that this use of force was uncalled for, and he believes that the officer should not have resorted to using a taser as his first choice. Due to this inappropriate action, the officer involved was subsequently fired from his position. The next clip on our list is a rather disturbing one. The video is filmed in Largo, Florida. It shows a cop, Brian Livernoise, threatening and using profane language with a 17-year-old boy. The video starts with the cop and the teenager as the main focus. We see them having a slight back and forth, with the boy's friends telling him to calm down. The boy is seen not listening to the cop, which escalates the situation and results in the officer pushing the boy onto the hood of his car. The boy's friends are telling him to comply and not resist the arrest, which calms the boy down, and the boy turns his back on the cop. But then the officer does something we didn't think he'd do. He grabbed the boy by the neck, which panics everyone. One guy with the red shirt on ran forward and confronted the officer, which turned into another back and forth of shouting. The officer tells the man that he is going to jail. This incident led to the Largo Police Department to investigate the officer. They determined that he violated police conduct, and it all resulted in his well-deserved dismissal. Next up on our list, we have a clip of a cop that is way too arrogant. The video starts with a guy casually taking a stroll in the police parking area when a police officer comes to him and questions him as if he has committed a crime. The guy calmly explains to the officer that he is allowed to walk around there, but the officer is adamant and doesn't listen to the guy. The conversation continues, to the point of it being even humorous. The cop even sings a melody to try and mock the guy. The video is actually hilariously stupid. Eventually, the cop realized that he was wrong and ended the awkward situation. People online still called him out for being unprofessional, and in the video, we can see the guy asking for the police captain, possibly to talk about this situation. Last but not least, we have a clip of this one guy just casually filming a police officer, which quickly turns sour. The video is from Rohnert Park, California. A man saw a police officer driving through his neighborhood and decided to film it. The cop responded to this by filming the man too. And the next thing you know, we see the cop getting out of his vehicle and walking up to the man. The officer asks the man to take his hands out of his pockets, and when he doesn't comply, the officer takes out his gun. I don't know about you guys, but this is some medieval stuff. Wow, like that escalated real quick. The officer is seen calling for backup, and that's when the man pulled out his phone and keys from his pockets and placed them on the hood of his car. The man keeps telling the cop to not touch him. The cop follows the guy for a while, and he even seems to enjoy intimidating the guy with his gun. The mayor of Rohnert and the city manager have both stated that they are conducting an internal review of the incident. That should teach this grumpy cop some manners. Anyway, this wraps up our video for today. Do you think the police system should be redone? What are some ways that we can make it better? Let's start this conversation in this video's comment section. I mean, you gotta start from somewhere. As for everything else, make sure to like this video, share it with your friends to spread awareness, and subscribe to our channel to help us grow. Thanks for watching and stay safe.